Hey, how are you? It's Nomad here. So I want to give an update on what's going on with the Ugly Green thing and where am I now. Um, so basically, let's see. Uh, this is an update on what happened. It's months later from when that happened, but I just, so it's not really now, it's then. Um, but I never did really make a video, so I'm doing it just so you can kind of know what happened. So as you probably know from the video, the last one I did with the ugly green thing, basically it got towed. I was dumb and I didn't move it. I found a really great spot in an industrial area and I got complacent. I mean, they didn't ticket me, they didn't tow me, they didn't even on street cleaning days. I didn't get a ticket. It just sat there. Cobwebs started to grow in the tires. That's how crazy it was. Like I just felt like, dang, this is like some kind of urban desert. Like nothing happens out here. It was out in the the garment district of Los Angeles, like in the outskirts of it, kind of near USC, west of the east of the freeway of the 110, and it's a great area by the way, near Broadway and gosh, I can't remember the name of the street, 22nd, 25th. I think I was on 25th Street, uh, near 25th and Grand, kind of over there. And by the way, so that's a good spot, you know, that area. If you're looking for an area to park and work and whatever, like you can work on your RV over there. Like no one's gonna mess with you. So, but I just left it there like days and days at a time, and I should have moved it. I should have just shifted it around. Like if I had just done that simple thing. The other thing is I let I had a temporary registration and I never got the permanent registration. And it was just again just sort of negligence on my part. I just kind of took it. I thought I had time to do that. I thought, oh, it's no big deal, and it just so the fact that it was parked there, like it looked abandoned, right? Like if someone saw it, probably the cops maybe saw it over and over again and probably thought, oh, that's abandoned RV. One point it was broken into, and I thought, wow, like someone broke into this, but it was weird because they didn't take anything, and it was I had some tools in there and like just a few, nothing that like you need, right? But I did have a few things that it just seemed like if someone was really like looking to steal something, like they would have taken that stuff, right? Like, and they didn't. And I mean, they took a few little things, like some safety glasses, and I came to the conclusion that the cops did that, and they probably saw it. They probably thought it was abandoned, so they probably broke into it to check it out. I come by one day, the door is wide open. There's a video on that, by the way, and I'm like freaking out. That was my worst fear. I come by one day and the door will be wide open, and it was, but it just looked like it was sitting there, like the door was wide open, like it probably was sitting there wide open for days, and like no one even bothered it. That's how empty that area is. Like you could just leave your door open, like nothing happens over there. It was like in a time warp. But anyway, the so a couple days after that, that's when it got towed. So I think what happened is the police found it. They thought it was abandoned. They broke in, checked it out, and said, "Oh, it looks abandoned, or someone's working on it." But whatever. The technicality was that the registration was not current, so they probably used that technicality to tow it. Technically, in LA, if you have a, by the way, here's a big warning to you: if you come to LA and you have a car and it does not have current registration, they can tow your car from a legal parking spot for that reason, which they've done to me twice. Um, they towed my Ford Explorer. I got it out, but they towed it. I was like, "What happened?" And it was like, "That's why." So, um, anyway, that's what happened. So it got towed, right? I didn't, I got a letter, blah blah blah. But there's a video later you'll see where someone actually bought it from the auction, from the tow auction, for $60. I mean, I put freaking $1,600 into that thing. And that was dumb, man, to let that happen. But one thing it showed me was like, I need to go to the auction. I mean, dang, if someone can get my RV that I put all that work into for $60, I need to freaking go to the auction myself. that's how this game works in this city. You know, it's like, wow. So that's kind of what was happening. You know, the other thing I learned was like I need to have a proper spot to work on it. Although, like I said, you know, if I had the current registration and if I had moved it around, like I could have kept working on it over there. So yeah. Anyway, at the time I was staying, we were doing house sharing with my mother-in-law in a one-bedroom, a nice one-bedroom in this luxury apartment building, and you know, it was great, you know, except for the fact that technically we weren't supposed to be there. Like, you know, it was we were technically breaking the rules, and we didn't want her to get, you know, evicted or something because we were there for breaking the rules. So eventually we did have to move. So we ended up moving with my cousin, who manages an apartment building in San Pedro, and that's how I learned about San Pedro. So that was kind of harrowing because we had to move pretty quickly, and I didn't have a lot of money at the time, and I ended up going to a bunch of Airbnbs, and it was just like ridiculous. So that caught me off guard because I didn't have any savings, and I didn't, you know, when we had to move, we didn't have a lot of time, and it just threw me off guard, you know. So basically, we went to my cousin's, who managed this building, and she also had a one bedroom, and we piled in her one bedroom. And when I say we, it's 5 of us, me, my wife, and our 3 kids, and who were teens, and yeah, and then she got in trouble, you know. It's like one of the residents complained that we were there, and you know, I mean, we're normal people. We weren't doing anything bad or anything. It's just, that's LA, man. Like, people are always spying on you, snooping on you. There's always some nosy person trying to like ruin your situation. Like, so you have to be on the lookout here. It's like you can't assume anything. And even though she was the manager of the building, which is why I thought everything would be fine, a resident complained to her boss that she had, you know, this family in her unit, and you know, and then her boss said that we had to move out. So again, we had to move out very quickly, and back to Airbnbs and, you know, all that, and then eating up my money. One Airbnb for 2 rooms was $300 a night that I had to pay. Like, I have gone through so much money in this city with Airbnbs and hotels and all this stuff. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous, and that's why I'm so frustrated at the whole thing, and how much money that I make at a job that I don't particularly like, and it just goes to landlords, and even then I'm not secure, really, you know, because they have all the power, like, and people who are subletting from their places have all the power, and I have nothing, and I pay all this money and I have nothing, right? It's like, man, it's just so ridiculous. I mean, you got all kinds of people here doing stuff, and it's just like, man, it's like basically the way LA works is like those who, which, you know, I guess is the world or our country, but it's like those who have take advantage of those who don't. You know, those who have the money and the property take advantage, enslave those who don't. So know that if you move here, it's like, don't move here unless you're making $200,000 a year, and you know, like, yeah, it's like, just forget it. The real estate developers run LA. They're the ones who built it, and they run it, and then I would say Hollywood, but even Hollywood people are kind of beholden to them, you know, unless you're like a studio executive or something. LA is so much about land and real estate and space, you know, really, more so than most places. Like, so yeah, so anyway, where was I? We ended up back in that situation, and then through kind of a miraculous situation, I found a long-term rental situation. It wasn't really long-term, but it was longer than Airbnb. Like, you know, it was actually an Airbnb, but I was able to work an arrangement with the person where we could stay in a room for about $1,000 a month plus utilities, so $1,200 including utilities, and yeah. So that's what happened with the ugly green thing. You know, I'm very attached to the ugly green thing. I just think it's such a neat vehicle, you know, and it's mainly because it was painted green and it has a tail, you know, it has this tree that grew up the ladder. That shows you that thing was parked somewhere for like 5 years, and this tree grew up the ladder, and so it has a tail, you know, and it's just like this little green monster. And I put so much work into it, you know, so I have an attachment to it. I actually met the guy that bought it, and he offered to sell it back to me. I haven't been able to reach him, but I'm gonna let it go. It's a fascinating little vehicle, but I'm gonna let it go because at the end of the day, it's just a crappy RV, you know, and it would take a ton of work to fix it. Like literally everything in that thing is broken, and I paid $850 for it. I should have paid $250 for it, really. I mean, I'm learning. I was really desperate at the time. I was just so frustrated. I mean, you can see in my videos, you know, I'm just like, I was like, if I get paid again and get some big money, I am going to get an RV. I am not going to go through this rent thing and have nothing, you know, and that forced me, you know, and that's the other thing about LA, like they will take full advantage of you. Do not be desperate here. They smell it, they will eat you alive. Like, this is not the kind of place where people are like, oh, you need help? Let me help you. No, it's like, oh, you need help? They're like sharks, right? It's like, you need help? You're wounded? You know, it's like, let me eat you. You know, that's how LA is. So, and everyone's so desperate here, from dentists who can't afford their mortgages to the homeless people in the street. Like, everyone is desperate. Like 90%. You know, everyone's struggling. So that desperation causes them to get in this sort of survival me or you mentality where they feel like they have to, it's like you or me, man. Someone's going down, it ain't gonna be me. You know, it's like, so they feel like they have to, and some of it's subconscious, and that's just the way they are. Like, they can't help themselves. So they mean well, but you know, at the end of the day, it's about their survival. So, so just know that when you come here, like, you better have your act together. No one's gonna help you. You're on your own, right? So it's been rough, man. I didn't even want to freaking come to this city, but you know, here we are. So anyway, back to ugly green thing. I tried to reach that guy. He didn't respond. Like I said, I have a thing in my heart for the ugly green thing, and you know, if he called up tomorrow and I had the money, he offered me. He said I could buy it back for $500, right? I might actually do it. I had this fantasy of turning it into a tiny house, and I actually saw a model of that RV that looked pretty good. If someone had done that, like, unfortunately they painted it black. Like, it just, I mean, it was like a party bus, but that dark color just made the place. I mean, it was so nice. Imagine a tiny house, but with all black paint. You know, LA, man. Like, okay, so, but you know, everything had been redone. Everything had been ripped out and replaced, and you know, when you see those junky RVs, you think, oh my god, it looks so disgusting, but you can rip all that crap out. You like rip it out down to the metal, or to the good wood or whatever, and then build it back up, you know. So they did that, and I think it was a 1976 or 77 model, like 1 year before my model, but it was a Dodge Coachman, you know. I'll see if I can include a video here, if I can, I mean a picture if I find it, but yeah, that was my idea, but it wasn't going to be black, but you know, it was like repaint it, you know, rip everything out, replace everything. I mean, the bottom line though, like that, you know, I don't know what he was selling it for, but what I've realized is like, if you put, you know, you could just lose a ton of money, you know, because at the end of the day, people look at it and they just look at the year and stuff, and they think, oh, you know, if you say RV, they just think, oh, you know, and then you don't get your investment back. Well, there's another 78 Coachman for $500. Why should I pay $2,000 for yours? You know, even though you put $2,000 in improvements. But I think if you frame it more from the perspective of tiny house, like here's a tiny house that happens to be on an RV chassis, you could get more money. And that's an idea I've been thinking about. So that was my original idea. I was going to just basically treat it like a tiny house. house. I was gonna rip out the floors, put in new floors, paint the whole thing white, you know, on the inside, and put some really nice stuff. The stuff you see on Pinterest, you know, those nice designs, right? That's what I was gonna do. So, but you know, I have to let it go, I think, and just move on. So that's what I'm gonna do. And like I said, if he calls me back, I might still do it, just for fun. I just want to see the ugly green thing live on, you know. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's just an old junky RV that probably needs to be sent to the dump. Yeah. But yeah, attachment. So that's it. So time to move on. And yeah, talk to you soon.